Imagine a series called Last Year, 12 episodes, each one tied to a different month. 5 college students are all treated as equal leads. Some months focus on only one character, while others quietly blend 2 storylines without announcing a shift. In some episodes, characters hardly appear at all. Viewers may piece together whose perspective they are inside and how the year is unfolding. This structure challenges traditional ideas about protagonist hierarchy. It also invites viewers to attach to different characters and build their own meaning from the year. Media scholar Amanda Lotz argues that we are now in a post-network era shaped by flexibility, by changing habits, and new kinds of aesthetics. A show like Last Year can help us imagine what American television will look like in the next 5 to 10 years. Lotz outlines 3 major eras in American television. The network era relied on limited channels, fixed schedules, and a unified massed audience. The multi-channel era, on the other hand, expanded choice through cable and encouraged niche identities. The post-network era was built on streaming, on-demand access, and viewer control over time. Jonathan Gray and Amanda Lotz describe how broadcast flow once guided the viewer through an evening. Streaming shifted that power to viewers and replaced flow with personal playlist. As a result, the idea of one stable main character begins to loosen. People watch on their own terms, their own pace, and with different expectations. Fragmentation also continues to increase. Platforms now target micro audiences rather than mass audiences. A show with an experimental structure like Last Year fits neatly into that landscape. At the same time, gatekeeping is decentralized. Algorithms, social media, and fans' communities influence what becomes visible and how it is understood. Gray and Lotz describe television as a cultural forum. In the past, this meant Americans watched the same shows at the same time and formed shared national conversations. That model is slowly fading. Today, smaller interest-based publics are emerging. These groups gather around shows that reward close attention and interpretive work. Jason Mattel argues that modern audiences expect narrative complexity. Katherine Johnson notes that viewers take pleasure in solving these interpretive puzzles. A show like Last Year fits in this shift. Each viewer may regard a different character as central. Each may understand the year differently. The story becomes a set of possibilities rather than one fixed account. Television begins to function more like literature or gaming, where perspectives shape meaning. A current show that does something similar is Modern Family. It's hard to determine who exactly is the main character. Each character has complex storylines and history that ties in and out of the central plot involving the family dynamics. Each character gets mostly equal screen time, and is really up to viewer interpretation which people they care most about or even relate most to. Last Year offers a model for how near-future television could look. First, there will be an increased experimentation with time. Lotz notes that streaming encouraged time-shifted viewing. The next step is time-structured storytelling. A season that follows the 12 months of a year can take advantage of natural seasonal rhythms. Winter feels heavy, spring feels restless or room to grow, summer brings its own tensions for the college kids. Time becomes an expressive tool. Secondly, modular storytelling will grow. Gray's work on Paratext shows how viewers use recaps, timelines, and online analyses to navigate complexity. Future shows will expect rewatching and active decoding. In Last Year, each month is a puzzle piece. Fans track how the 5 characters drift apart or converge. Online theories and community discussion becomes a key part of the experience. Third, hybrid and cross-platform worlds will expand. Henry Jenkins describes convergence culture as the blending of media spaces. Shows will extend into characters' social medias, companion podcasts, or digital archives. In Last Year, a character's playlist or diary could appear as an official bonus text that reframes how viewers read that month. Paratexts have often been fan-driven, but offering real-world extensions from the creators blurs the line between fiction and everyday life and deepens the narrative. This allows the idea of a main character to become less about the script and more about viewer interpretation. Contemporary television is undergoing major structural shifts that determine which stories get made and how the next decade of television will look. As platforms lean further into database decision making, algorithmic commissioning will continue to grow. Streaming services depend on retention, completion rates, and binge behavior, which means they increasingly favor shows that perform predictably within these metrics. A series like Last Year, built around short episodes and a clear temporal spine, fits neatly into this model because its structure encourages continuous viewing and generates steady conversations across online forums. Second, niche content will become more central as platforms refine their focus. Chuck Tyron argues that contemporary media environments operate through what he calls platform cultures, where services target specific, loyal micro audiences rather than broad national publics. These spaces reward programming that speaks directly to the interest and identities of smaller viewerships. A show grounded in emotional realism and interpretive puzzle solving aligns with the shift because it invites active engagement, repeat viewing, and community analysis. All of these will help a platform cultivate a committed niche. Third, changes in labor and global production allow creators to experiment with structures that once felt risky. Limited series, creator controlled projects, and international co productions reduce industrial pressure to follow familiar formulas and open space for unusual narrative designs. A season organized around the changing months of the year becomes not only aesthetically expressive but also industrially feasible. Garcia highlights the growing agency of television audiences. People want control over pacing. They expect density and emotional authenticity. They also expect online discourse. Viewers gather on TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, and all other now and future social media platforms to interpret scenes, track timelines, and trade theories. Last Year fits perfectly into this environment. Its shifting main characters align with the ways audiences build personal connections. Each viewer decides whose story matters most. Online communities enrich the experience by providing breakdowns and alternate interpretations. Because we never get 100% of the true story from the bouncing perspectives and missing parts of the timeline, it allows viewers to fill in the gaps themselves. In conclusion, American television over the next decade will continue to move towards greater temporal flexibility, deeper audience fragmentation, and a stronger algorithmic influence. Scholars note that contemporary viewing habits have already disrupted the ideas of a single national audience and replaced it with smaller publics that gather around specific modes of storytelling. As platforms compete for attention, serialized forms will become more modular, more rewatchable, and more responsive to the rhythms of everyday life. At the same time, television will expand across platforms and initiate audiences to function as collaborators rather than just passive viewers. A series like Last Year demonstrates how creators can work within these emerging conditions. Its month-by-month structure uses time as an expressive tool. By allowing characters to shift in importance, the show mirrors what Mattel calls narrative complexity, where the center of the story is always open to revision. By encouraging viewers to piece together timelines or track the emotional drift between characters, it leans into the interpretive pleasure described by Katherine Johnson. The act of decoding becomes part of the viewing experience. If the network era focused on broadcasting to millions at once, the next era will focus on building narrative worlds that millions can explore at their own pace, in their own way. Jenkins and Spiegel both point out that modern television moves across digital, domestic, and social spaces, which creates new opportunities for viewers to engage with a story world beyond the screen. Last Year offers a model for this transition. It imagines television as a flexible system where plot, character, and perspectives are designed for a more participatory culture.